talking particularly, we talked earlier about how mobile's getting harder and more competitive. So the next talk from the data experts and analysts at Newzoo is going to be about how to maximize your opportunities from moving from mobile development to PC and console. So that's an interesting kind of interesting trend. A lot of cross-platform activity has been happening. So do I have my wonderful speaker? Do I have Tom from Newzoo? How are you doing? You're looking very natty, sir.
Yeah. I'm wearing my presentation jacket.
Your presentation jacket. I can't.
Just
I
like
can't
you.
even get
Just
into
like
my
you.
jacket
Just like
anymore.
you.
But have you got?
I got one more year.
Fantastic. Off you go, sir.
All right. Thank you very much for the introduction. Sorry for the wait. Everyone was getting mic'd up. As was already introduced, today I'm here to tell you about the opportunity of moving to PC and console development. I'm going to do this in a couple of parts. First, I'll introduce Newzoo and myself for those who are unfamiliar with us. Then I'll spend a bit of time talking about what most people in the room know, why this happens now, why mobile has been going through a bit of a rough spot in the last couple of years. Then I'll present some options, how you can transition to PC and console development or not, and finally present some examples / use cases why, at least from our perspective, we think mobile developers, as probably many of you in the room are in a very good position to make an impact on the PC and console space. Good. Now, before I start, to introduce Newzoo, for those who are not familiar with us, we are indeed a data and insights company specialized in gaming. We provide data in roughly three different pillars. We provide consumer research, a global gamer study which we run annually, and a game health tracker which we run on a monthly basis, looking at purchase intention, etc. We provide title-level engagement and revenue data for PC and console games at the moment, so kind of the PC and console answer to Data AI Sensor Tower. And we are in the business of providing games market sizing, estimates and forecasts, as well as reports, which we do in our Global Games Market Report. That's my business, that's why I am here. On top of all of that, we also provide custom and consulting services. If your data needs do not fit any of the standard service we offer, we also have the ability to combine those custom for you guys. Like I said, my name is Tom Wijman. I'm the lead analyst at Newzoo. Primarily work in our games market reports and forecasts, as well as our consulting business for the past 7 years. Good. As I said, these are the three topics that I want to touch upon today. State of the market, transition strategies, and how to navigate the PC and console markets. We'll dive right into it because I am on a time short here. Why we are where we are today, and that is, of course, because the mobile market, as unfortunately probably many of you have experienced, has been going through a bit of a rough patch. And I wanted to illustrate that by showing our mobile games market estimate, and this is a global market, so this also includes China, South Korea, Japan, as well as Western markets, emerging markets, etc. And I cannot make it more clear than the graph really is. It just kind of speaks for itself, but I'll do a little bit of commentary anyway. Throughout 2015, which is where we started estimating this market, up until 2021, the market grew at a 21% CAGR, roughly, to almost 100 billion. We went back and forth, like, are we going to cross 100 billion? Yes or no? Peaking during the second year of the pandemic with 98 billion in revenue globally. This is purely on games. This is purely consumer spending, by the way, just to make sure that we're all talking about the same thing. There are no advertising involved here, no B2B revenues, no licensing, purely generated from consumers spending on mobile games. We had a first correction last year where the market declined back to 92 billion. Unfortunately, this year we're forecasting, and I know technically we're in 2024, but we do still consider this a forecast as we rely on financial data coming in, which is a bit of a lag. So even though it's January, it's still a forecast for 2023. Again, the market's shrinking a little bit. Now, for the most part, that's in Eastern markets, where I don't want to get too technical, but it's the impact of the foreign current exchange rates. In the West, the market's flat, but still not growing. We do anticipate that we will return back to growth, but it is nowhere near the CAGR levels that we saw pre-pandemic. In other words, the mobile market has faced a slowdown in the last few years. The outlook is not particularly strong either. Doesn't mean there's no opportunities at all, of course, but it is a much harder market to succeed in. Now, the other side of the spectrum here is if it's not mobile, then why am I here telling you guys or advising you guys to look at PC and console segments as well? It is because those markets are in a slightly healthier spot. And other opportunities, but there is a lot of opportunity there. So looking at the revenue forecast for 2023, mobile's roughly half the market, just 1% short. The rest of the market is made up with 29% console gaming and 22%, and due to rounding it doesn't quite always add up, PC gaming. The outlook for the console market is the strongest. Looking at the next 3 years, we forecast that to grow at 7.6% CAGR, which would roughly put it at 65 billion by 2026. The outlook for PC, slightly down because we also look at browser gaming, and browser gaming has been a rough market to succeed in for years already, and that hasn't changed. However, this year, PC was actually a bit of a bright spot, technically last year, as it grew on more than 5% year on year. And even in the coming years, we still foresee growth on the PC market as well. So, in short, to sum this up, why consider PC and mobile? Well, PC and console, sorry. Well, mobile's in a rough spot. Console and PC offer a lot of opportunities. There's a lot of space there. Now, how then do you go about changing to PC and console, developing for PC and console? Very broadly speaking, there's two options. There's more options, but in a very high level, there's two. You can either take your existing games, mobile games, and port them directly or with a little, you will always have to do a little work on it to make sure that it fits a bigger screen, different input devices, but you can port the games. And like the examples that I pulled here, but there's many more. Supercell's gone through Google Play Games PC, which is a beta product by Google. That's pretty much Android run, and it, at least if you believe their marketing, would make transition very easy. There's also the option to go direct. The example that I pulled here is Firelight 84. That's a battle royale shooter game by Live Games. And on top of being available in the App Store, you can also download their game on Steam or directly on their website. So, how I see that, at least, is that the benefit is it's a low risk but medium reward kind of strategy. You can reach multi-platform gamers, and I'll look a bit more into what that means in a second. You can improve profitability, routing players to web store. I saw there's a lot of talks about web stores and alternative app store billing here, so that's definitely a hot topic. Definitely improve profitability a bit. It makes it a bit more logic to pay things on a web store if you are already playing on a PC. And it's a light reuse of resource compared to completely new development, which is the option 2 that I'm going to talk about. Downsides, I think the main downside here is in the middle, actually. It's a lower likelihood to expand your total addressable market. And just to get into that a bit more, the way I see these sort of ports is that you're making sure that your game is available to your existing players most of the time, where they are, when they want to play, how they want to play, on what device. But it is much less likely that you are going to convince current PC and console players that do not play your game at the moment to start playing it just because it's available on PC and console. Like, there's already so much content, and the content that you're porting directly maybe doesn't exactly match their preferences, their needs. So, like I said, lower risk, lower reward. As I promised, a bit of a look into why it can still be lucrative. Looking at the multi-platform gamer of today, this comes from our consumer research. We look into both platform overlap, but also the playing and spending habits of people that play on one or multiple devices. So on the left, the Venn diagram you see here, still a slight majority of the gamers that are part of our panel, and this is a panel that we run in 36 markets across the world in 2023 we ran this. Still roughly half play on one platform, and the majority of that is exclusively on mobile, 35% of the player population that we sampled. 8% on PC, 9% on console. The other half, however, play on multiple devices, sometimes 2, sometimes even 3, 15% of them. What we also found in that, and again, logically it makes a little sense, but those players that play on multiple platforms, they have a higher share of converted payers, so people that are spending on games. One platform down at 41% pays for games. When they play on 3 platforms, it's up to 85% of people that convert into payers. Across all games, by the way. Of course, these are not conversion rates that any one game can attain if you're not paid to play. Similarly, the average time spent playing per week almost triples when you look at multi-platform gamers. So there is absolutely something to said for having your mobile games, even though they are developed for mobile, available at least on PC, maybe also on console, although that requires a bit more work with the platform holders. Just because, purely based on what the research tells us, those players that play on multiple platforms are going to be your spending more time, higher engagement, and also much more likely to be spending on your games. So serving them where they are makes a lot of sense. Option 2, however, and that's where I'm going to get into for the last part of this presentation a bit more, is to develop brand new experience for the PC and console audiences. Because mobile developers, which I expect that I'm addressing mostly mobile developers, can tap into a new market, new players with a higher ARPU, with usually, again, more time spent playing, particularly if you target those multi-platform gamers. And there's a lot of learnings and experience from building mobile games that can now translate into PC and console development. Some examples that I pulled, but there's a bit more, although this is relatively new. Disney Dreamlight Valley, of course, developed by Gameloft for console, PC, and I think also mobile. And Tencent just announced Last Sentinel during, the Game Awards, actually, which Tencent, of course, primarily known as a mobile development studio, has established a studio dedicated to PC console development. They just announced their first project. Now, benefits, like I said, you tap into a new addressable market. PC and console players spend more on average, likelier to convert to payers as well. The markets are less susceptible to sweeping changes made by 1 or 2 parties. And there's the ability to build experience from the ground up for the audience and for the platform that you're targeting. Obviously, on the downside, it requires different expertise, it requires more development resources, and it basically expects you to pivot at least a part of your studio. So I'm not saying that it's easy, but there's a lot of upsides to it. Now for the last part, I wanted to talk about the right side of the slide. Why can mobile developers compete on a PC and console market? Obviously, because you are all great developers, but realistically, we think there's 2 or 3 very specific pointers to the fact that we think now is the right time to consider this pivot. First of all, the quality of mobile games, particularly ones that are being developed in the last few years, show that mobile game development can be on par, at least, with some of the bigger budgets or the bigger titles on PC and console. The second advantage is that, and I'll show you again some consumer research data in a minute, the mobile market in terms of what games are being developed is already used to developing for a very broad and diverse audience, and for finding niches within that audience that are underserved right now by PC and console development, which for the majority again, particularly in the more successful titles, tends to focus on an outdated perspective of what a player is. Typically male, young adult, that wants to play action games. And that particular part of the market is heavily served, but there are other parts of the market in audience interest that are currently being underserved by existing PC and console development, and that is an opportunity to look to. And the final part is that mobile studios, mobile development, from almost the start, has focused on being successful in live services, being successful in user acquisition, performance marketing. These are all capabilities, expertise that I'm not saying the PC and console market totally lacks, but it is very clear, I think, also from the last couple of years, that this is something that is relatively new in those markets, and they're having somewhat of a hard time to adjust to it. So again, this is an opportunity to step into. And what I wanted to show here is that some of this pivot and actually developing is already being successful. We looked at what I looked at is the top 100 PC and console titles. Again, this is data that Newzoo has, by MAU, and check which one are also available on mobile. And as of October 2023, so 2 months ago, pretty much, 15 out of top 100 games are available cross-platform. So some of these games that are being developed for PC, console, and mobile are finding a lot of success. 2 examples there, Disney Speedstorm, Honkai Star Rail, both got into the top 100 PC and console titles by MAU in October 2023, and they're purely cross-platform games. Good, so last part. How do you actually go about it? How do you find your niche? How do you find your market? If I had the best answer for that, I wouldn't be standing here. Part of the work will be on you guys, but I just want to give you some pointers what you can do. First thing you can do, look for genres, identify genres with high cross-play potential. What can you do there? Of course, you would need market data to do that. Hi, guys. Basically, there are certain genres that tend to do well across PC, console, and mobile, so it makes a lot of sense to then develop for that. Genshin Impact, Honkai Star Rail, combining elements from adventure games with RPG games, both those genres score very high in terms of consumer spending across all platforms, so it almost makes sense that it becomes successful. The alternative way, and an alternative way of looking at it, is you can also look at genres with very high market share on mobile, but not so much on PC and console, and that can show a gap that you might be stepping into, because, as I said, there might be parts of the markets that are being underserved by current PC and console development that you can step into. Right now, that's puzzle, casino, and trading card games, 3 genres that I found the highest disparity between market share on mobile versus market share on PC and console. So who knows, that might be where the next hit comes from. The second opportunity, building new growth areas by developing for underserved audience, and I put the hyphen there because I don't want to imply that it's undeserved. Again, the opportunity, Game of Disney, Dreamlight Valley, very interesting for us because it's a PC and console game primarily that is a very different aesthetic and very much developed for a more female audience, or well, typically anyway, I don't want to generalize too much. And what I wanted to show here is that there's a very diversified audience on PC and console. I showed here, this is a look at generations, so how much different generations play. And you can see that even if you go millennials, Gen X, baby boomers, there's a significant, more than a significant chunk of them that plays and pays for PC and console games. So, and I could have put in genre here as well, and I'd be showing the exact same thing. Like, what I want to show here is that the notion that you should develop for a younger male audience is very outdated. Last part that I wanted to put here, that thought about bringing live service and UA expertise from mobile to other platforms. Again, over the years, the PC and console business has actually grown closer to mobile than vice versa. Mobile is and started and grew large with its strength in in-app purchases, free-to-play, live services, and over a longer period of time monetizing its users. PC and especially console is only just getting there, and it's been clear in the past years from seeing where development priorities and resources go by the bigger developers that this is also what the future is. To illustrate that, I looked at how we split recurring and premium revenue for PC and console separately from 2015, 2019, and current year. But, again, I think part of the data speaks for itself. You can see more and more revenue is going through that recurring, boosted by live services, and that's exactly where mobile developers have the expertise to step in. So again, I think those are the three gaps. Wanted to wrap up first looking at why should you consider this. The mobile games market is in a challenging position, so diversing to platforms is advisable. There's two options. You can port existing games, which is a low risk, low reward play, or you can add or pivot to multi-platform development. And I think I want to emphasize that it's not necessarily pivot to just PC and console, but really thinking about developing for mobile, PC, and console where the biggest opportunity is. And then how do you go about finding some of these opportunities? There's only so much I can tell you in a 20-minute presentation, 23. But identifying the right genres, look at opportunity either by seeing where there's already success or where there's gaps, building for new audiences that are underserved right now, and bringing that live service expertise to a changed PC and console market. That's all for now. I don't know if I have time for a question.
I can force one quick question if it's
Go
a quick
for it.
one. Is there a quick question? There's a quick question. There's oh, hello. How are you? Lovely.
Hello. Nice
Hello.
to see you.
Nice to see you too.
Thank you. Really good presentation. I was wondering, are you also changing your payment solution, or you keep the same as you have on mobile, like when you think about cross-platform games?
I would absolutely switch to a different payment solution, just because you can get much better margins than what you can probably get right now on mobile.
Any recommendation?
Do you have a name there on your hat that I should mention?
I think you should.
I think if you walk around here, then there's plenty of recommendations that you can find. And also some of the talks in the afternoon.
Cool. Thank you so much indeed. Big round of applause, please, for Tom. Thank you very much.